This podcast is brought to you by you, the anime addicts around the world in our community. Thank you so much. And if you want to support the podcast, join the community, and maybe become a honky person, you can go to AAApodcast.com/join or Patreon. Throw us a couple bones. You'll become truly strong. And also get our hentai episodes, which we're going to record one today. And I just surprised Mason with that just now. He didn't know, but now he does. And we're going to be, we also give you our after parties and our hobby addicts. I just talked about Unicorn Overlord in the hobby addicts, so you can hear that and so much more when you go to AAApodcast.com/join or Patreon. And now it's time for Bucchigiri.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at AAApodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Welcome.
Oh. Hey, I'm talking here.
Hey, what's up? What's up? I thought it was my turn. Mason, go ahead.
No, it was your turn, but I was like, I'll do it again because we have a very sausage-filled episode today. This is episode 733 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. To those listening on Twitch, where we stream live every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, happy Father's Day. For those of you not on Twitch, it's okay. It's okay. We will be your daddies today. And since I stepped in 6 to 7 years ago on this podcast, I'll be the stepdad. I'm Stepdad Mason. And with me today is the large, muscly fellow who's been doing well. Grand, you might say, in fact, your granddaddy, Mitsugi. How's it going?
At this point in time in my life, I'm just trying to keep my body together, honestly. 15 years of weightlifting and mountain climbing and smashing my knees while mountain biking and all this. It's taking its toll. And also this 100 proof Knob Creek whiskey I'm drinking straight is not helping my joints. But, listen, if you want to become a honky person, sometimes you have to make extra efforts. And sometimes drinking hard liquor is one of those. So I'm glad to be here. Mason stole my thunder out of the gate. That's okay. Forgive him.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Though I will say, our review today of Bucchigiri, if folks have not seen it, you saying honky person just sounds like you're saying honky, like a honky tonk person from the South. No, this is honky.
Honky, yeah.
Which is completely different, I think. We'll get to it.
Yeah, well, it's a sausage fest today, Mason.
Sausages!
Yeah. Just you and me, just the boys hanging out, being really cool. We're going to go through a bunch of mailbags that have been just festering in the back that we've just been neglecting for way too long. We're going to get through as many of those as we can. We'll see how it is, but, do reviews, we talk some anime. It's what we do here. This is the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. You might get a little bit of anime action.
Maybe.
But thanks to all who, or like I said, watching live on Twitch, join the Discord, join the Twitter, all the good stuff. I don't know if you even joined Twitter. I don't know if... Whatever. Who cares? Nonsense. Discord, that's where you want to go. AAApodcast.com. That's where you got all the links to all the places you need for the mailbags and all the good stuff. Right?
I made a promise to myself that since Caroline was not on the podcast today, that I would be extra inappropriate. So we'll see. We'll see what I can come up with. It didn't seem like a very inappropriate outline. Didn't have any immediate things pop in my head, but by God, I'm going to do my best. So, are you ready, Mason?
Yeah, I think once the alcohol gets flowing, you'll be
this shit
feeling
is strong,
it a bit more.
Bro. It's
nice.
Oh, 大ニュースです. It's time for big news of the week.
I also find it really funny that somewhere I made a bet on the Discord. I thought about how long that new Crunchyroll anime podcast would last. It's already like sinking into the depths of we're just crushing them. It's like, how does a small-ish podcast like ours beat Crunchyroll? It's the second time it's happened. So they tried Crunchycast, that didn't work, and then they tried whatever the hell the new one's called, and it's not working either. So I don't know how that just popped in my head. I don't know why, but fuck
Are
it.
they still coming out with new episodes?
Yeah, they are. It's just that no one cares. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't even know why I thought of that. It doesn't matter. So, follow up to last week. The original Evangelion. So Gynax. We talked about Gynax. Maybe it was because someone wrote a mailbag about how much Crunchyroll sucks. That's coming up later, and maybe that's why I thought of it. But massive studio debt was revealed by a Tokyo research firm. So, and I thought this was so funny because there's a company called Animenomics is what it's called. This stupid name. I would never go work for a company called that. Japanese, it just doesn't sound serious. Japanese research firm in Tokyo has revealed that Gynax owed about $2.42 million to 71 creditors before its bankruptcy. And I had a couple thoughts about this. One, I doubt those creditors are going to get any of their money back at all. And two, people may not know, but like when you file for bankruptcy protection, like you tend to like not pay. You tend to not have to pay the debts you owe. Like they'll liquidate everything that company's got, the seats, the light bulbs, everything, and they'll pay as much debt as they can, but they're not going to pay most of it. But the other thought I had was that $2.4 million is such a piddly amount of money. Like, it sounds like a lot to some people, but in the world of business, it is such a pissant amount of money. Like, Mason, I'm not going to reveal the companies that you and I work for, but I happen to know a fair amount about both of these companies, and I can guarantee you that both of our companies profit $2.4 million in maybe a single day. So... yeah, and
yeah.
that's not. And
I mean, they're kind of big global corporations in a sense, so like it makes.
Well, mine's not. My company's not as big as yours, but we do a $1.5 billion revenue a year, and we make about 200 million in profit a year. So you're talking about maybe a day and a half for us to get that 2.4 million. It's just like and the reason why I'm bringing this up because no one really gives a fuck is just I'm just trying to show how small and fragile these anime studios are. They don't have a lot of money. They're talking about these massive debts. Gainax owes those massive debts. It's only $2.4 million. Like, what the fuck? Like, a random single person could potentially pay all their debts and not have any problem. There are definitely people out there that have $2.4 million. You know, it's not a lot of people, but it's a few percent of the world has maybe 2% of the world could do that. I don't know.
So if you are out there listening and you have $2.4 million, you could take that money and give it to our podcast instead.
Oh, man. Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah. Yeah. And if you can go to Patreon,
please.
patreon.com or, yeah. So I just threw that out there because even a studio that was once a big success like Gynax, these studios, and they don't have a lot of money. And if you ever went to the Kyoto Animation building, like before the arson attack, that building looked like a rundown apartment. Like, people think, oh my God, Kyoto Animation, they're just making the most beautiful artwork. And maybe that's true, but they're making it in a building that looks like a setting in Silent Hill. So I'm just telling you, these anime studios are small and they're fleeting and they're not getting a lot of the money that they deserve probably. I don't know where it all goes, but unless you're a Ghibli, like, and you're making gajillions off of like stuffed animals, most of these studios are tiny and hurting. So anyway.
Well, I think the interesting thing is, so they're like 2.4 million US dollars in debt. It takes about roughly 2 million to make a one-core anime. So, like, the amount of debt they're in is the cost of...
Is that the number? Is that a real number?
It's a rough estimate, averaging on different companies. But the thing is, you're like, oh, why don't they just make one of those? And then, like, they'll recoup their money. The profit margins to get out of 2.4 million, when you only have, like, a 5% profit margin, would take years and years and so many anime to, like, pay it off that it's... Like, it seemed like, yeah, it's not a lot of money compared to... what big businesses make in the day, but like the time it would take and resources just to try to fight out of that hole would be just insurmountable for a company like Gynax, which has no like IPs remaining. A lot of their creative leads have left. Like,
they're toast.
There's no way they're going to get that back. So that's why they filed. And it makes sense, but
You know what's
It's
funny?
disheartening.
The debt was actually 380 million yen, right? Which like a year or 2 years ago would have been more like $3.5 million, but now it's only 2.4 because of the exchange rate. People, I literally just texted my wife. I go, "Hey, Pancake, what are these Christmas time flights to Japan looking like?" And then I sent her a picture of the exchange rate on Yahoo Finance. People, it's at 157 yen to the dollar. I just I say that like with a giddiness in my voice because I've said this 9 times now, but like if you're not if you've ever always wanted to go to Japan, you need to fucking do it right now. 157 to 1 is insanity. Like you're gonna think you're vacationing in like Yemen. I mean, it's gonna be so cheap once you get there.
Even 140 would be like, yeah, this is awesome.
Oh my god, yeah. Listen, when I went to Japan, it was 148, and with the exchange rate, I lost a % or two. You know, it's like 144, and I was like, this is nuts. Now it's 157. I sent her a picture of the exchange rate. I'm like, I like two trips in 1 year. Well, maybe we'll
no,
do that. Like,
unless wink wink.
God damn, it's so crazy. I do have another big news. This is the real big news. Japanese audiences rank the top 10 strongest anime and manga swordsmen. People love this kind of shit. Straw man. The straw men love it. So we'll see what people. So there was one character on this list. The character that came in second. According to the article, people were kind of surprised that he didn't get number 1 because, because it's so big. But so there was a 2-way tie there was 10 characters here, and there's a 2-way tie for number 9. It was a research firm called Digital Research Nexer. Surveyed 1,000 men and women in Japan about the strongest swordsman characters. Number 9 tied Gintoki Sakata from Gintama and Saito Hajime from Rurouni Kenshin. I'm surprised Saito even is remembered at this point. Like, that's Gintama I get, but like,
yeah,
Saito, he wouldn't even be in the top 4 strongest Kenshin characters for me, honestly. So I don't know how he made this list, but then there's a 3-way tie for number 6. Giyu Tomioka from Demon Slayer, Rengoku Kyojuro from Demon Slayer. I don't know who either of those characters are. And Dracula Mihawk from One Piece. And I don't know who that is either. Do you know any of these characters?
I know Mihawk, I think, has a really wide crossguard, a really long sword. I would need to look them up. I've seen pictures of Mihawk, but I have not been following the most recent Demon Slayer stuff, so I can't vouch for it. But
he looks like an idiot.
Seems very popularity driven so far.
He looks like a cross between one of the 3 Musketeers and the Wolfwood from fucking Trigun. Now you get to the
very
real
Hellsing Ultimate vibes.
Now you get to the real characters here in the top 5. Inuyasha, number 5, which, by the way, Inuyasha is so good. Like, people, oh gosh. I watched Golden Boy last night. We've made a new friend in Denver, so I have to watch Golden Boy again. So we showed her episode 1, and I have probably seen episode 1 of Golden Boy 40 times. I mean, it is so. God, everyone loves Golden Boy. It's ridiculous. Pancake's brother, we showed it to him. He watched it on his own. Loves it. I'm like, how does this not get more content? This shit is so fucking funny. I love Inuyasha. That anime is so nostalgic, but when you watch it, the characters are so strong in Inuyasha. Like, they just mesh well together. They're like the ingredients of a perfect taco. It's like, oh, Inuyasha's the beef, Kagome's the cheese, Miroku's the shell, Sango's like the hot sauce. Like, I don't know, whatever, but it's just so fucking good. So Inuyasha was number 5. Tanjiro Kamado. So there you go. Demon Slayer is, more of the main characters here. Number 4.
Which I don't think is even stronger than the other characters from Demon Slayer that you just listed. So it's very much a popularity contest so far.
Yeah. Louis the Cat says Sango is hot sauce. I agree. Actually, I think Kagome's hotter than Sango. I would take. Yeah,
Kagome. You put them all together: hot sauce, bean, cheese, taco shell. What do you get? Diarrhea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that and every time I eat Chipotle, every time,
baby,
100%. Number 3 on the
Still
list.
worth it.
It's
Still would.
It's so good. It's so bad for you, but it's so good. Actually, there's so much worse food than that you can eat. I found out how to eat McDonald's for a reasonable price. I'd let you know that if we were doing an after party today, but I have to talk about the sexy establishments in Japan as requested by the Discord. So we're going to go through that whole spiel about all the naughty shit you can do in Tokyo. Number 3, Kenshin. So that was obvious. Kenshin, number 3. Kenshin doesn't really have any like superpowers to him, so he's just a swordsman, and honestly, probably would look like a shrimp if you saw him in real life. He'd probably be like a flyweight boxer in the UFC. He'd be so small. But Kenshin is cool. Here's the character that everybody thought would be number 1, but wasn't. Roronoa Zoro from One Piece. Not number 1. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool. I think I would put him high up on the list.
Well, he was number 2.
I'm not going to reveal who I think should be on the list because I don't want to spoil number 1, but I think you know who I think should be on the list.
Well, so I don't know I don't know what the kind of powers and stuff the One Piece characters have, and I'm not 100% sure about Gintama, but at this point, I'm fairly certain Inuyasha is the strongest character on this list. Like, he's gotta, maybe, I'm not really sure about Gintoki. I'm not sure how, like...
It's also tough because, like, Inuyasha is strong, but because he's, like, a weird demon hybrid, he's got, like, bestial
he's a
powers.
fucking demon, yeah.
But, like, as a swordsman, I would say, like, his sword skills are not above Zoro or Gintoki or stuff like that, you know? So,
but does Zoro
is it
have
the strongest combat swordsman, or is it the strongest swordsman?
Well, does Zoro have the wind scar? Can you,
I think so. He's got 3 swords. You gotta be pretty good if you're wielding 3 swords with 2 hands.
I'm just asking if Zoro's swords make, like, for lack of a better word, like, do they shoot kamehamehas, or are they just swords?
I think they got some special sauce.
All right, I'm just asking. I'm not really sure. Anyway, number 1 on the list, Goemon Ishikawa from Lupin the Third. So Sejinther on the chat said Goemon better be on here, and he was number 1. So what do you think about that? Slicing airplanes in half all over the place.
I'm fine with this because you look at everyone else on the list. You know what they do with their swords? They slice, they dice, they kill, they mutilate. They do all the sword stuff. Goemon is the only one who uses his sword for everything. Every problem in Lupin the Third.
Yeah.
Goemon just does something with his sword and everything works out just fine.
Slicing Zenigata's police car in half.
That dude works wonders. He's a miracle worker. You find yourself a Goemon, your life is set.
You know, some girls want 6 foot, six figures, 6 inches. What about Goemon and his, I'm not sure where I'm going with
Magnum steel. I'm just upset Guts isn't on here.
Oh, nobody remembers him.
Everyone remembers Guts.
Well, apparently not. I mean, not as much as these characters.
Now, the only technicality that I would accept for Guts not being on this list is that it's not a sword. It's just a hunk of steel. It's just iron. It's just metal.
It's definitely a sword. Doesn't he get it reforged in the original season?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sword.
Yeah, they just say it's not really.
Doesn't he get it from Zod? Doesn't Zod give it to him as he's leaving?
I thought Zod has a different sword. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I'm okay.
Zod's
as long as
badass.
Goemon is on the top of the list, I'm okay.
We need a hentai with Zod in it. That would be interesting. He just never mind. He just destroys these anime girls with his sword.
All
right, so that's the big
like that. Anyway,
yeah.
One last quick big news just to get this over with.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of big news about sequels. Our part 2's coming out. We have Nier Automata Second Core coming out in summer. Mm-hmm. The 2nd season of Shy is also coming out in summer. Kind of a tongue twister. Delicious in Dungeon, actually the show we are reviewing next week on the podcast. That will be getting a 2nd season. That's been confirmed. As will Tokyo Revengers is getting a sequel to its season 2 part 2. So more shows for everyone that everyone already likes. But biggest news for my week is that one of the biggest fighting games, I would say on the planet right now, is getting an anime, and that is Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear Strive, the seventh in the fighting game series, is inspiring a television anime called Guilty Gear Strive Dual Rulers, which sounds like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Ass name, but I don't
It
know.
fucking does.
This will be done by Studio Sanzen, who did like Bang Dream and D4DJ, so expect CG. And while this is the first anime of the Guilty Gear lineage, the spiritual successor fighting game, BlazBlue, received an anime back in 2013, which, if you look it up online, was not good. Very poor reviews, so hopefully this is better.
It won't be.
I don't know if it will because the game is
No.
practically an anime already, and there's just a long, convoluted history of Guilty Gear, but the music slaps, so it's got a chance. I don't know. I'm going in with subdued expectations, but I have not played the game, so I don't know what to expect.
Fuck me. Dungeon Meishi's 26 episodes. Are you shitting me? You're killing me. Fuck. Is that shit episodic?
Yeah.
Is that episodic?
Mm,
I know it's on
in the
Netflix.
first half, but it's only 24 episodes, and it's dubbed, and it's on Netflix.
God. Okay. Listen. I don't say that to be like overly negative about it or anything, but like it's hard to watch 24 episodes of anime in a week. That's a
Yeah,
lot. That's
it
a
is.
lot. It's tough to do. So,
Yep.
wow. All right. Guilty Gear. This
Buffet.
anime will not be good.
Oh, I'm guessing it will be at least just a worse experience than the fighting game, which, if you play the story mode, seems like it already is an anime story. So just go play the fighting game instead of, I don't know. Nier Automata, I love the game. Anime was fine. I love Persona 5. Anime was awful.
Yep.
Yeah, just
Persona
a lot
4.
of times, just if you have to choose between the source material and the anime adaptation, just choose the source material. It's probably a better, just go with that. But who knows? Could be wrong. It could slap.
Well, think about it. The Street Fighter movie was terrible. The Street Fighter anime is terrible. The Mortal Kombat movie, terrible. The what the fuck else was I thinking? Oh my god, it's too much alcohol. There aren't the Fatal Fury anime, not good. There's a lot of fighting games that have bad animes and movies.
Yeah.
It's just,
Besides Uma Musume, there's not too many.
that doesn't count. But
it's like a mobile game.
did that game come out after the anime did? I feel like it did. I'm not 100% sure, but
I feel like it was either before or one of those like mixed medias where they came out simultaneously.
man, I'm gonna
I
have
don't
to.
know.
I'm gonna have to force Dungeon Meshi into my week the same way Zod would have to force his sword into. Well, never mind.
There we go. So that was the big news. It went a little long, but
that was for
I think it was fun.
All right. Well, listen. There's like there's like hundreds of mailbags we haven't read, and we had no topic for today, so I was like, let's just do some mailbags. This first one is good. This is actually a good first mailbag. Mason, would you like to kick us off? We're going to read mailbags, people. So if you don't like it, I don't give a fuck. So
It
there you
means
go, how you
though,
like
the
that.
mailbag stash is being depleted. So if you got a fresh, hot, quality question, head on over to AAApodcast.com, click on the mailbag link at the top, and submit it so then we can read it. Because now we have opportunities. We have openings. We're hiring mailbag writers for free. Please write one. This comes to us from the Goemon predictor of the list, Jinther, who writes, "Good day. This mailbag might work better as a topic. Too bad. We're doing it now.
Too bad. Fuck off.
Wondering if you could define the eras of generations of anime, maybe giving them all names and dates of how long they lasted. For example, maybe the 70s or early Miyazaki, or Miyazaki would be the anime spring, or the late 90s would be the golden age. Perhaps the mid 2000s is the year of the big three, or the shonen renaissance. I can't even talk. Jeez. Would be interested to hear your thoughts and insights. Thanks again." So, what would you define as the eras of anime, and what names would you give them?
Well, you went back a lot further than I did.
Well,
So-
I tried going like by decade. Like, what would I call the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, blah 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 blah. But I didn't like give it a, like, I was kind of holding myself to these fence posts of like, you know, the decades versus you kind of choose.
I just fucking did it in 2 seconds, man. I didn't.
Yeah, I did too. But then I was like, okay, I need to actually talk about it.
I was trying to.
But I like this. I like this mailbag.
I was trying to find a drop here, but I can't find it. So, oh, there it is. The Louis the Cat said, Mitz may not be a father, but he is a daddy.
Oh yeah, hey girl, come sit on daddy's lap.
I don't know. I just felt like I had to do that.
Yeah.
So I started with the old anime in the 70s and then the first half of the 80s that no one remembers or cares about. So there's anime from the 70s, but you're not going to recognize or you're not going to be able to name too many of them. So, I mean, I can only think of a few anime from the 70s that I've seen, honestly. It's not a whole lot. It's like Lupin, Future Boy Conan, and maybe a couple others. I'd have to actually look them up, but it's not very much. Then I went with the weird 80s. So this is our things are so different. You just did decades, and I'm just doing whatever I feel like. The weird 80s is one of the best periods of anime. It's like 85 to 90, where all the weird, uber violent shit came out, and all the stuff that would just wig out your fucking parents if you put it on, or your little sister. You got your like Midnight Goku Midnight Eye. You've got Urotsuki Doji. Angel Cop. Like all this crazy shit that came out in that period, and I love that stuff. Lily Cat. These weird anime that no one knows about. I feel like anime was truly original in the late 80s. Like there's just weird shit that like you don't ever see it again. Demon City Shinjuku, like that. I'm not checking the dates on these. I'm just going off memory, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of anime out there like Lily Cat. It's not a great anime, but it is interesting. It's different.
It's its own thing. You're not going to find anything else like it.
You won't. Then there's the forgotten. I'm calling it the forgotten period just because for no reason at all. Which is like 1990 to 1995. I feel like you almost never hear someone talking about an anime from 1990 to 1995, and if you do, it's Slam Dunk, and that's pretty much it. I'm not really sure what else there is, but I don't know. Like I'm even looking at your list that you wrote down. None of your stuff's from between 1990 and 1995. It's all after that. It's weird. Evangelion was at 96. Bebop, 98. Card Captor, probably 98. Utena, I'm going to guess that's 97. I'm telling you, it's weird. There's like, anime was bad between like 1990 and 1994. It's crazy. Then there's and I could be wrong, but I'm just talking shit. Then there's the golden years of anime, which is 1995 to 2003. That's when like all the good stuff came out that no one now watches, but they should. So that's where your Triguns, your Bebops, your Outlaw Stars, your GTOs, there's so much. Crest of the Stars, 12 Kingdoms. It's a giant list of just fucking awesome anime from that 8-year period. Ava, as you have on your list, Card Captor, Utena, like there's tons of stuff. And then there's I called it the post-golden year sad, which is 1993 to 2010. Like anime is not terrible during 1993 to 2010, but it's not as good as 95 to 03. Like you're not gonna. I just throw a dart at that like 8-year period. Wolf's Rain, Bullseye, Serial Experiments Lane, Bullseye, all this good shit. And then I called it the reused ideas and isekai madness, 2010 to the present. There's so much anime now that is just isekai and the same thing that was already done 500 times ago. That's where we are right now. So I don't know where we're headed next, but I hope it's back to like weird shit. We really need more weird stuff. Like stuff that's like what is going on? This is so weird. Like, did this guy just like, did this demon girl just grow handlebars out of her back and a robot like little person's riding her around in this office building? Like, it's just the weirdest shit of all time. Yours is a lot more like we're organized though, Mason. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, but I think we have a lot of overlap. So, to me, the 60s was like Tezuka, The Rise of the Robots. You have just like the prototype, the primordial sludge that anime was being developed in.
Mm-hmm.
You have your Astro Boys. You have your Gigantors or Tetsujin 28 Go, Kimba the White Lion. Like just the like you look at it now and like, oh, those are the classics. No one watches them, but like that's where the foundations of anime were built. In the 70s are kind of when anime started to become like a piece of culture. Like you have your Lupin the Thirds, Doraemons, Ashino Joes, the stuff that was like, okay, anime can like have a cultural movement behind it, but it's still trying to figure itself out. The 80s, kind of like Mitt said, is when things got mature and dark and weird. That's when you had your weird OVAs that he alluded to, your Daloses, your stuff that was just like, what can we do with anime? And they just pushed in all these directions, mainly into fighting, things like Dragon Ball and Fist of the North Star, stuff like let's go to space, let's have Gundam, let's get weird with it. Let's
I love it.
have City Hunter, let's have, you know, Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Let's just get dark and just see where anime takes us. And it went all over the place. And that's where things got cool. Pat Labor, which is super awesome. And in the 90s is when things kind of refined. They just took all the weird experimentation of the 80s and like spearheaded it in a more focused good. And that's where I think we get like this golden age concept in our head of the Evas, the Bebops, the Cardcaptors, the stuff that we know and love today as people who have been anime fans for 20, 30 years. That's like the sweet spot. And that's where I think a lot of folks think anime peaked. And I don't agree or disagree. It's just when that style, I think, was at its zenith. After that, in the aughts, is kind of when we started moving away from cell animation and moving to more digital stuff. So you have like your Bakunos, your Code Geass, Death Note, Haruhi, like they're all good, but they kind of lose that hand-drawn aesthetic that folks like Mitsugi really adore, and people nowadays never really experience because they're just watching new stuff. And like I said, the 2010s, as Mitz alluded to, that's Isekai became the thing. Your Sword Art Onlines, your No Game No Life, and even stuff like Attack on Titan, while not an Isekai, definitely feel like in the same vein of just a fantasy land, a different thing, which is, I don't know. I'm okay with it. I just think mainly nowadays we are in the age of excess where there's just so much being pumped out that I don't mind because we still get those weird gems. There's still good shows being put out. It's just when you're in the flow of just 70 new anime a season, it's hard to know like what's going to live on 20 years from now and like be, you know, a cultural touchstone. But I do think with improved technology, I know AI is just a hot topic these days, but eventually anime I think will just get cheaper and cheaper to make, to the extent that we're going to get so much stuff that there's going to be stuff for everyone. Like, you know, you want to go back to the weird stuff, the experimentation, the wild, the wacky, the obscene, the gross, the hyper this, hyper that. There's going to be an anime for anyone, any season, and I think that's a good thing. It's just you're going to have to sift through a lot more mediocre, not appetizing, not engaging stuff to find it. So we're kind of drowning in options now for good and bad, and I think that's where we're at, and we'll see where it goes.
So while you're doing your rundown, I looked up on my anime list all the anime from 1990 to the end of 2000. I can't fucking talk. From the beginning of 1990 to the end of 1994. So you
see if there was anything of value besides like JoJo.
There's nothing. I guarantee that. So let me give you to give you an idea. There's only one TV show that has a better than an 8. There's only 3 anime in total that have better than an 8 from the whole 3-year period, for the whole 5-year period. One of those is a movie called Ramayana: The Legend of Prince Rama, which no one has watched. No fucking way. Then the number 1 TV series is Tanoshi Mumin Ika. Literally, Mumin.
Mumin.
Yeah,
Mumin.
Spring has finally arrived in Mumin Valley, giving way to another great adventure for Mumin Troll and the rest of its inhabitants. Snuffkin, blah, blah, blah. Unbelievable.
You gotta love those crazy.
My shirt's inside out. My shirt's inside out, and I just don't give a fuck. I don't care. Listen, Pancake went into Iowa for work. You'll be lucky to find me not waking up tomorrow on a couch full of crushed Doritos. Okay, that's pretty much where we are right now. So the minute the wife leaves, the man regresses to like college mode. Okay, that's where we are right now. Then there's a movie, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, some movie, and that's it. Nothing else broke in 8, and I doubt anybody's seen any of these TV shows.
But even
honestly.
that Legend of Galactic Heroes, that was from a series that came out before. That's just riding the coattails at the end. So it's not like a new property.
No, it's
So,
like,
yeah.
like Galactic Heroes was like 88 or 87 or something. And it's like, then the movie came out in the early 90s, but no one knows
Yeah.
about it because in the early 90s is a black hole. So,
Yeah. No, the Forgotten Period is a good name for it. I didn't come up with any clever names like you did. So
you seen any of these? Let me see here. I'm just going to run through a few of these. Oni-sama A, Dear Brother, the TV show.
yeah, I've seen that. That's
You've
actually
seen that.
pretty-
Mason!
Yeah, I've seen it.
Fucking A, he's on fire.
That's pretty peak. That's pretty cool. That's pretty fun.
Musei Kinin. Irresponsible Captain Tyler. I know that. Yeah,
Okay,
I've seen part of that. But even that's not like a great anime, I wouldn't say. Then there's Shin-Chan. Man, Shin-Chan is old. City
Yeah, it's been
Hunter.
going forever.
City Hunter. Sailor Moon came out in
93.
yeah, something like
92?
that. Middle of 92. And that's like pretty much all. Like there's really not much. It's all Moomin and Sailor Moon. What the fuck is Moomin? All right, next mailbag. Yotaru Vegeta writes, "How was your day, AAA?" Well, my day is only half done, and I'm going to fall asleep tonight in a pile of crushed Doritos. So that's how my day's going. If a moment from the last anime you watched was an entry in your diary, what would it be? For example, my diary would be, today I saw an octopus aim a sniper rifle at a child. Hunter x Hunter. Giving context is up to you. Maybe the listeners would like to make a game of it and identify your anime. So, today I watched a bunch of shirtless men punch each other as opposed to make out to express their feelings. A strange way to show affection. Or, today I saw a huge muscled 18-year-old man cry because of a promise he made, because of a promise that he managed to remember from when he was 4. There you go. Mason?
It's like you watched Bucchigiri for our review today.
It's like I did.
Oh my goodness.
Why don't those guys just like... Honestly, they all just want to make out with each other. They just do.
Bucchigiri would have been a phenomenal hentai. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, it's basically a yaoi. They just need to like get some balls. Do you have one of these?
I do. I didn't know if we were supposed to write it from a perspective of the character or just what we watched, but
I don't know.
Today I struggled to fill a pot with water, so I had 2 beefy dwarfs help me out. What show do you think that's from?
Beefy dwarves?
Beefy dwarves trying to fill a pot with water.
I have no idea. Dungeon Meshi?
That's right.
Yeah, at least you're getting
There
ahead.
you go. Sorry, we weren't watching anything more exotic and interesting.
What's it? Yeah, at least that's on Netflix. It'll definitely be dubbed in 15,
It is.
15 languages.
It's an all right dub, but you'll be fine. Next mailbag comes from Raggedy Doctor. Hey there, addicts. I have to ask, was there ever a show where you could trace your love to said show back to a particular episode? One episode that got you truly hooked or made you realize how special the show you were watching really was. For me, it was episode 24 of One Piece. The real ones know what I'm talking about, but what was it for each of you?
God,
So what
a lot of these.
episode from a show? And it was tough because a lot of great shows have a bunch of great episodes. So I was trying to think of shows that had like a one clear cut, like, oh, I love this show now, despite it, maybe it being good all the way through. So for example, one for me was Cowboy Bebop, episode 13, Jupiter Jazz Part 2. And,
Was it the
Bebop
shower scene?
No. It's the... So, tons of good episodes in Bebop, no doubt.
Yeah.
But the end of Jupiter Jazz, when it fades out playing Space Line, and
good.
they're just scrolling through the stars and the credits, and it asks you, do you have a comrade at the end? Oh. So good. It was so good. Like, that's... And obviously it was built up by episode 12 before it, kind of laying the groundwork of, Spike's history and blah blah blah. I'm not going to spoil anything, but
Oh, it's so fucking old.
that's when I was like, oh, that's a special moment. It evoked a feeling that was unique and powerful and just made you sit and be like, linger with that for a bit. And that was really impactful. So that was the first one that came to my mind. Do you have any?
Well, that, I've got several written down here, but I mean, I'm trying to not give too many dramatic spoilers. So for me, probably the number one is Onizuka smashing the wall in the girl's house at the very beginning of that anime. Have you seen GTO, Mason?
Like half of it.
Okay, well, in the beginning, the beginning, which plays like in like a 45-minute OVA, he basically smashes a girl's wall in her bedroom with a giant mallet. And I'm not going to give a lot of like background to it because you guys got to watch it, but Onizuka is the real daddy. Like, let's be honest, he is. Like, I've heard a bunch of chicks tell me this. He shows up with his big hammer and his shirtless and his fucking abs, and he just takes care of things. And it's a great scene. And GTO's got a bunch of these scenes in it. Like, there's a ton of them, but that's a really early one that's quite good. Crust of the Stars, the attack on the Bass Royal in like episode 6 or 5 or 6 is pretty strong. Like I said, there's a ton of this, but I'm not going to go into detail about all of them. So, do you have anything else you want to mention?
Episode 8 of Land of the Lustrous, when it gets snowy out, let's just say, is when I felt like that show really came into its own. And of course, Katanagatari, Trapeze, and Tatami Galaxy all have some of the best ending episodes I've ever seen. And landing a finale is really hard to do, but it really, good episodes leading up to it. I liked all those shows for sure, but with how good they stuck the finale, I was like instant, catapulted to the top of my list. So, good shows. This is a hard question in a lot of ways, but I think we can move on.
All right.
To a master swordsman.
Yeah, Godspeed Zoro, who's only second place, writes, hey, AAA podcast, some of the most hype moments in anime and manga come after the main villain of each arc has been defeated. In One Piece, as this is when we get a new bounty revealed, and we were updated on events unfolding throughout the world. So I was wondering, what do you guys think are some of the coolest, most hype moments in anime? For me, I think the most hype moment in anime is the second Sendo versus Ippo fight in Hajime no Ippo. I mean, I can't get through that fight without crying, and it's so fucking awesome. Like, they hit everything perfectly. The intensity, the crowd going crazy. You feel like you're right there at the fight. It has a ton of build-up. It's super visceral. Like, the characters are putting like their lives on the line. There's a ton of manly virtues behind it, Ippo's, he asks his coach, like, what does it mean to be strong? And his coach, gives him, like, the profound, like, go in there and find out or something. Like, I can't remember the exact quote, but for people who have seen it, it. But it's so fucking good. You got to watch a lot to get there. That's probably, and Captain Avatar just mentioned, Hajime no Ippo's on Netflix now. I mean, shit. It's so fucking good. Like, I don't even know how to begin. That's the best fighting anime there is. For like for like hand to hand, like for like actual martial arts, not just like, Dragon Ball or something. Speaking of Dragon Ball, Goku's instant transmission plus Kamehameha against Cell in the Cell games is pretty awesome. That's the scene. I don't care. Like, honestly, I'm just gonna punish you if you haven't seen it by now. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. You're not going to watch Dragon Ball Z anyway at this point. That's the scene where Goku instant transmissions, like he basically teleports right in front of the enemy and then Kamehamehas him point blank and just blows the entire upper half of his body off. And it's just his legs like standing there at the afterwards. That's super awesome. Also, the Shishio fight with Kenshin at the end of Rurouni Kenshin's Kyoto arc is pretty cool because there's a lot of build up and hype about Shishio and how and then like when he starts lighting, when he drags his sword on the ground and it lights on fire because it has so much human fat absorbed into the metal over years of killing people. That is so fucking awesome. Yeah, it's pretty good shit. There's a ton of these. I can't name them all. Mason?
Yeah, it's hard. Obviously, I have to give you a second for the Ippo coming out swinging at the beginning of that fight. Just there's something to be said when a scene is hype, but it's been hyping it up for a while, and you're like, oh, here we go. Mob Psycho 100, when you see his counter like clicking up, and you're like, okay, the big hype moment is coming.
Yeah.
In Freyarin, when she's like suppressing her mana, and you're like, okay, I know she's suppressing it. When's the big reveal? And you're like ready for the hype. So when it comes, you're like, boom, chef's kiss, perfect.
Right.
But like the Ippo fight, like you know it's going to be hype, but it reaches that zenith quicker than you expect, and you're almost like stunned. And then you're hyped. And that's similarly how I felt in some of the high Q matches. Whether it's the blocks, the quicks, the double saves, like there, you know, a hype moment is coming, but when it comes like preemptively, it's surprising and really effective. So I like moments like that. Tons of sick moments in JoJo, Levi going sicko mode in Attack on Titan, Rock Lee removing his weights, a bunch of reveals in One Piece with the different gears and different abilities. Like, so, I mean, I'd give Shonen like a bad rap for a lot of reasons, but you know, power levels can be fun, and when shows do it right, you're just like, oh baby, we're getting stronger. You're right there with them, and yeah, ton of hype moments. So
Rock Lee taking his weights off is a great one. That is,
yeah,
wow, that is so. That's the kind of shit that just blows your mind when you're 13.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't recover from that mentally when you're 13. That is just all you'll think about for weeks, honestly.
Yeah, and you're going to start walking around school with your own ankle weights like an absolute dork. And but hey, it's what you got to do.
What's next?
Comes from Little Bear Kill. I've been watching you guys since episode 587, so you guys haven't made my addiction worse yet. But my question is, what is your guys' hot take in anime right now? Example, Bocchi the Rock is not that good to what people hype it up to be. Mitsugi, what is your hot take of anime? Because I don't have anything.
I'm such an asshole. I'm such an asshole. I truly believe this, and until I'm proven wrong, I'm just gonna keep believing it. And I don't want to be mean. I think people that listen to this podcast are well versed in anime. You've been around anime for a long time, and you're not who I'm talking to when I say this. But I think that a lot of anime fans today are new, and they lack context for what exists in anime, in the catalog, in the 20,000 anime that have come out or whatever it is over the years. So when they see a new anime that's like pretty good, they just lose their shit because they have no point of comparison against other things in the genre. So, like, for example, Bocchi the Rock, I thought it was fine. I didn't suck its dick. It's not a 9.0. It isn't. There's a ton of music animes with girls, but I don't think most of the people watching Bocchi the Rock have seen any of them. Oshi no Ko, same thing. It was pretty good. It's not great. I think there's like 100 fucking idol anime. I don't think people have watched most of them. Demon Slayer, there's 4 million anime about hunting demons. Probably people haven't watched most of them. Jujutsu Kaisen, million animes with people hunting spirits and shit. I mean, have you ever watched like Yu Yu Hakusho? I don't know. There's a ton of shit. I don't think you guys have watched them. I'm not speaking to the listeners. I'm just talking about like someone watched Jujutsu Kaisen and it blew their fucking mind because they've only seen like 20 anime, maybe even less than 20, and probably Jujutsu Kaisen is the only anime out of those 20 that's anywhere remotely like it. But when you're old as shit like I am, I can name 14 anime that are this very similar to Jujutsu Kaisen, and it just doesn't come off as being that like incredible because I'm a little jaded and I have a lot of perspective. So I don't want to sound like a dick, but I think that like when people get really excited and they pump some anime up on the internet to a 9.7 because they think it's the greatest thing that's ever happened, well, you've probably seen 5 anime, and when you get to 1,000 You know, when you get to 1,700 like Mason, or when you get to like 900 or 800 or whatever I'm at, you'll feel differently. Like you're going to realize that, I ain't going to lie, Yu Yu Hakusho is better than Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm just going to say it. I think that's true. So, that's, you know, Hunter x Hunter is better than Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm just sorry. I'm going to say it. I think it's true. But most people that are watching anime today haven't seen Yu Yu Hakusho. So, if Caroline were here, she would say, I haven't seen Yu Yu Hakusho. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
So, that's just the way it is. Anime World Order, who I have booked to come on the podcast, by the way, in a month or so, will tell you, anime fans don't stick around for more than about 4 years. So that's about how long the fandom lasts. And 4 year anime has been around for 50 years. And if you're only going to hang around for 4 years, by the time you leave, you don't really know shit. So that's my hot take. I'll be an asshole, but I really believe that. So, and prove me wrong. Someone prove me wrong. I want to be proved wrong.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I think it's unfair to say, oh, because you haven't seen a lot of shows, the shows you enjoy aren't good. That's not what you're saying.
No, not at all.
If someone came to me and said, oh, look at the show, it's amazing, and I pull up their mail and they've seen less than 100 anime, I believe that they enjoyed that show. I believe that they watched it, had a great time, and loved the heck out of it. But I don't trust you as a viable reviewer. And, you know, it sounds like a jerk to be like, oh, unless you've seen 100 anime, your opinion is invalid. But I'm going to less eagerly trust your takedown of this show just because, I don't know. If someone's only heard 18 albums and they come up to me and say, oh, this new pop artist is amazing, it could be awesome. But without a solid pantheon of titles under your belt, it's just less likely that I'll be like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So, we are being jerks. Absolutely. Are we gatekeeping a bit? Maybe, but
listen, all the anime I named are perfectly fine. Like Demon Slayer, it's good. Jujutsu Kaisen is good. It is. They are. Bocchi the Rock, I thought it was okay. I didn't really see the point. Oshinoko, I didn't really see the point. People enjoy what they want to enjoy. I'm happy about that. I will sit in my living room and watch an anime with you for the 40th time, like last night, because I enjoy sharing anime with people that much. I have seen Golden Boy 40 times, literally. But neither Yu Yu Hakusho or Demon Slayer are a 5. So when people just say it's a 5, I'm like, well, you don't have anything to compare it against. So that's kind of the thing. Missy writes, hello, Anime Addicts. I'm a longtime listener and I've always enjoyed the content you all put out. I loved anime since the 90s, Sailor Moon. We just mentioned Sailor Moon in the 90s, Dragon Ball Z, etc. See, that's what I'm talking about. Our listeners have been watching anime for a long fucking time. So you guys don't, I'm mostly talking about the high school kids and shit, you know, that like go online and they make, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but they're high schoolers. You can't trust what they say, even if they've seen 1,000 anime.
Yeah, I'm surprised they can even watch anime. It's more than one.
High school listeners. We still love you.
I know we want to have kids someday, but I'm just so scared that my kid will end up being a dipshit. It's so scary.
That's why I'm going to say just a podcast daddy. You know, I don't want to be a real daddy. That's scary.
I don't know how the fuck I'll keep podcasting if I have a kid. I'm trying to get my husband to watch anime with me that he would enjoy, but it's far and few. I find that's usually the other way around. It's usually the husbands trying to get the wives to watch anime. We've watched anime like Kill la Kill, Darling in the Franxx, Way of the House Husband, and tried with Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan, but he thought these two were boring. Wow, and hated the artwork.
It's interesting that the last two are the ones that you point out as being poor artwork and boring compared to Way of the House Husband.
Yeah, and they're not... Wow. You know, I talk a lot of shit, but Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan are not boring. Doesn't Demon Slayer start with like a giant like brawl in the woods with a demon where he's like stabbing some demon in the snow to save his life? Like, it's not boring at all. Anyway, we don't really have much time to watch. Yay, adulting. Tell me about it. So any anime that's shorter in episodes would help. So I don't know. This is hard because I don't have any. You didn't really give any genres or anything. Like, I don't know if your husband likes sports or whatever, but this is what I wrote down. if your husband likes sports, there's almost a super good sports anime for every sport. For baseball, it's Major. Soccer, maybe Giant Killing. It's a little shorter. For more serious anime, like I know Space Brothers isn't short, but it is good. Pluto was good. The weird shit from the '80s might appeal more to like an adult male, like Wicked City. I think it's see it. You're probably better off going with movies. I really think movies are probably your place. Like they're short, they're sweet. There's a lot of good ones, like Sword of the Stranger. That's a super cool, fun movie that most like adult men would like. Wicked City, I already said that. You know, Ninja Scroll. There's a lot of stuff out there. Like you're gonna have to grab these movies and watch them. Because there's a ton of them and they look better. They're short. They tend to be pretty good. Shit. I mean, that's probably the way to go. What do you think, Mason?
I think movies are some of the best that anime has to offer. It's just tough to be like, hey, try out this art form you're not really a big fan of. Let's sit down for an hour and a half hour. Like sometimes it's easier to just be like, it's only 20 minutes. So something like that. I mean, on one hand, you just have to accept he might not like anime. It just might not be for him. And that's okay. Yeah. Don't force it. Don't be one of those people who are just like, no. Like, I appreciate the effort. But I was thinking something like Samurai X, Trust and Betrayal. 4 episodes.
So good.
Not too long. In and out punchy. Doesn't waste your time. Kind of actiony, but not too... Like, it's easy to do. I'm thinking more like OVAs, whether it's... like Hellsing Ultimate, if he likes more of the spooky type stuff. But, yeah, I mean... Movies are good. Movies are good options. I mean, the reason why Ghibli is popular because it's easy, it's adjustable, it looks great. And if he says that doesn't look good, well, then you can just give up right then and there because it's just not for him, and that's okay.
When I was in college, I had a friend that insisted he hated anime even though he'd never watched one. You know how people are, and I was like, you know what? Let's watch an anime. He was like, fine. You harassed me enough. We'll watch it. I put Princess Mononoke on. He watched the whole movie. Afterwards, he said he hated it. I don't know if that was just him being stubborn or if he really hated it, but sometimes people just don't like anime. I don't know. If you don't like Princess Mononoke, you got something wrong with you. Honestly, that movie is so universally good that it takes a special person to like. It takes a stink meaner from the Boondocks just to say that's some old bullshit to fucking Princess Mononoke.
Y'all just hate him.
God, for real. But you know, you also might want to try. I know I've talked about it already on this podcast 7 times, but Golden Boy is short, and it's on YouTube, and the dub is hilarious, and it's perverted, and it's pretty much meant for men. So, that is probably a strong option for something that he would like that's short and gets to the point pretty quick. Mason, we got 3 more of these and plenty of time. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay, this next one comes from, brace yourself, Nutbuster Douglas.
Oh, my.
I don't think this is a question. I think just writing to show appreciation for the content. I listen to you guys while I'm working, and since I'm caught up, I've been listening from the beginning. Wow.
Beginning?
That's some rough audio quality, my dude. Congrats for getting through that minefield. God help you.
I was so...
I'm currently...
I'm so embarrassed by the first 100 episodes of this podcast. I didn't even put them on, like, Apple.
Yeah, you got to go onto the website, AAApodcast.com.
Yeah, if you want to hear the really bad like laptop built-in microphone podcasts, you have to go back to the fucking website.
Back to the Stone Ages.
Jesus, yeah, it's
they're currently on episode 180, so they made it through. Wow. The rough patch. Thanks for all the effort you guys put into making our addiction worse. P.S. Shout out to Cram and Chiaki. Hope they are doing well. So far, my second favorite podcast trio, aside from the current lineup. Thank you, NBD. Your kind words. Yeah, we put a little bit of effort into this, and sometimes it shows.
A little bit.
Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Mostly life just gets in the way. It's too hard to,
Every week, baby.
Have so many things going on. Prangmeister writes, since Mitsuki loves isekai so much, my question for you hosts is, if you were to die and get reincarnated into an anime world of your choosing, which one would you choose and why? Also, how would you live in that world and why? What would you try to accomplish? Well, bro, for me, it's Ishizoku Reviewers. Of course. I didn't even have to... It's pretty funny. There's 20,000 anime, and when I read this mailbag, I instantly wrote that. There was no thought at all put into it. Now, there are other shows that I could have put in for similar reasons, but if I can bang all the anime and demon girls I want, like, I'm there, bro. The salamander girl, are you kidding? Even like the mushroom girls. I can't remember all the girls. That anime was so much better than it had any reason to be. That shit was so funny. And why would I choose it? I already explained it. I mean, a man's got to do what he's got to do.
Why would I go there? Self-explained. What would you do there? Self-explained. How
Listen,
would you live? Self-explained. All the questions.
Anime has twisted and warped me so much. Probably 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, if you had been like, Mitz, here's a cat girl, real life, I would have been like, okay, that's weird. And nowadays, I'm just like, all right, yeah, cat girl, yeah. It's like anime just fucks with your brain after a while. Like, we're all, whether you know it or not, I think we're all demented to some capacity. I'm really demented. So, oh, it's true. Roxanne, so Gohan Trunks fan, Roxanne is so hot, but she's only one person. I mean, did you watch Ishizoku Reviewers? That shit is wild. I mean, what would I try to accomplish? I'd go to every brothel there was 10 times. Simple. Mason, what do you got?
For the same reason as Mitz with Ishizoku Reviewers, definitely Pokemon. I mean, Vaporeon. Do I need to say more?
Vaporeon?
Okay, I guess I do need to say more. No,
What, are you thirsty?
yeah, so Ishizoku, do you know the meme?
No, I guess I don't.
Okay, I think you need to do some extracurricular research, my guy. But no, I was like, okay,
right
if you're going to a different world, it's got to be drastically different. Otherwise, what's the point? And obviously, something with superpowers seems really appealing, flight, doing all that cool stuff, but that usually brings with it a bunch of danger and risk and chance that you get a sucky, crummy power. So I decided, go with Pokemon. It's pretty much a paradise. All you do is Pokemon. The people in the show know so little about Pokemon. With my game knowledge of stats and typing, I got this. I mean, if Ash can win, I got this in the bag. And Pokemon are dope, and they're cool, and they are going to be your best friend. So Pokemon, please. Thank you.
This Vaporeon meme is about, like, wanting to romance Vaporeon?
I mean, the breeding capabilities of a Vaporeon are second to none.
Breeding?
So, I mean, it's just the water-based biology. We don't need to get into this. Is hentai episode content, okay?
I heard something. Pancake told me something last night that was crazy. It blew my mind. She read in a science article or something that, like, and I don't even know how people know this. I think scientists are full of bullshit most of the time. But it's like 200 million years ago, some mammal got a virus that changed our biology over years of evolution that caused us to be how we are today. And without that virus, humans would lay eggs, apparently. Isn't that crazy? Vaporeon definitely laying eggs. Is that a fucking mammal?
I mean, I think all Pokemon canonically lay eggs.
Egg executor?
Yeah, but like
eggs?
when you pick up when you put them at the daycare and you pick them up, they give you an egg. All Pokemon come out of the egg for the most part.
It's true. Yeah.
They be a little whack, but I don't know.
Mr. Mime, yeah, he's gonna.
He's handsy.
He seems harmless till he gets a little too close. I got one
Let's
last mailbag.
Last one from Captain Avatar. Why do you think Crunchyroll hates dub fans so much? Not even referring to their horrific mispronunciations. I can't even.
I'm
say
the one drinking liquor, bruh.
Listen, I'm dying out here. I'm referring to the fact that they refuse to put a subtitled track for signs and text, such as character names, episode titles, and signs or cell phone text messages. This leaves a significant amount of information completely out of context for those who choose English over the original language. Even High Dive provides the secondary subtitle track, and Funimation did too. Your thoughts? Mitz, what do you got to say about Crunchyroll? Their podcast is big stinky. Their subtitles are big stinky.
I've never listened to their podcast. I just assumed it wouldn't last long because the minute that like these companies aren't making money off their podcast, they just kill it instantly. Or like, the people that are on the podcast have to like our work priorities have changed. Now they have like some work thing to do, and then it's like all of a sudden they can't do it anymore. I think all the streaming sites except Netflix have a problem. Well, even Netflix. I mean, here's the thing: Netflix is too expensive, and they only have a certain amount of anime. But if you were just gonna watch the anime on Netflix, you'd have a lot to watch because there's a couple hundred of them at least.
They have Hajime no Ippo. What more do you need?
Netflix is probably the best place to watch streaming, period, because the player works great. They dub everything in like 10 languages, and it just works well. Whatever. You may disagree. I don't care. High Dive sucks because their player sucks. Fucking even like GoGo Anime or whatever on the internet has a better player than High Dive does, and that's embarrassing. Like some pirate site that sends you porn ads has a better player than fucking High Dive. Crunchyroll, I don't know what their excuse is, honestly. I think Crunchyroll is generally fine. I hate when they have like 7 different dubs and they don't include the language on the... You can't... I've already said this before, but like sometimes the title is so long and they put the dub at the end of the title. It'll be like, Jobless Reincarnation, Season 2, blah, 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 and then it'll say in brackets, Spanish dub. Well, that Spanish dub doesn't show up half the time, so you got to click through 9 different things to find the dub you want. You're just like, oh, fuck, that's French. You play what language is this game? Oh, that was Italian. That was Portuguese. Oh, fuck. That was Mandarin. And then finally you get to English, and it's like 4 minutes later. But I don't know. Crunchyroll, it's like, the only thing I can think is that either one, sometimes they think that those other subtitles would get in the way of the visuals. Like, there are some anime that put a lot of text on the screen, and if they were to subtitle it all, you can't fucking see anything. So that could be an issue. Otherwise, they're probably just cheap and they don't want to bother paying someone to fucking translate it. I don't know. But I think Crunchyroll's pretty good, actually. I don't know. I don't have a lot of complaints about them. It's not that expensive either. So, I don't know. Do you have any comments?
I have no comments. Thank you for the mailbags.
I like Crunchyroll pretty well. I'm only paying for 2 streaming services right now, and I'm happy at that. One is Crunchyroll, one is Netflix, and the rest we're just sharing with other people and getting, like, I have access to pretty much everything else, but I'm not paying for any of it, so.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the mailbags.
We got mailbag openings available. Once again, AAApodcast.com. Do the mailbags. We'll answer them. Sometimes better than this. We got another one later this episode just for fun. But first, we have a question for you. It's our in-show weekly trivia question. In the anime Bucchigiri, what instrument does the main character Origin claim to play? We'll let you know the answer when we return. See you soon.
Pika! Pikachu should not come out of an egg, by the way. That fucker's got fur.
That boy is a mouse.
Hey, all you anime addicts, it's me, Tsugi, and it's time for your anime news, starting off with a bunch of new anime adaptation announcements. Studio Bind is adapting Hanawasaku Shura no Gotoku, the manga, in 2025 as a TV anime. Flower and Asura is the manga name. So if you're a fan of this property, look out. Studio Bind, who did Jobless Reincarnation, is going to be working on this. Director Ayumu Uwano of Majo no Tabi Tabi is going to be doing the directing. It's about a girl named Hana who lives on a small island with a population of 600. And Mizuki, who's the president of the school's broadcasting club, notices that Hana has a talent for engaging others through her storytelling and invites her to join the club. New journey of, whatever, broadcasting club members, school club anime. But it looks popular and a lot of conversation online. So if you're a fan of this manga, look out. It's coming out next year. Next up, Bones is producing Gachiakuta, the TV anime adaptation in 2025. So this is going to be with director Fumihiko Suganuma, a serious episode director, and Shirobako's episode director. Shirobako being quite good, I would note, for those of you that haven't seen it. It looks like the synopsis is about a person Rudo, who lives in the slums of a wealthy town, coexists with his foster father and the rest of the town's residents, but they detest the upper class, ignoring the warnings for those around him. Rudo regularly rummages through the town's garbage in search of useful items from the abyss, a massive hole where anything considered trash is dumped. So if you're a fan of these sort of like classist, whatever, like fantasy anime, this one looks like it should be good. It's got a lot of talk from Anime Expo 2024. This began serialization in Weekly Shonen Magazine in 2022. So there's 11 volumes in print. So if you're a fan of Gachi Akuda, look out for this. Also in 2025. And Dungeon Meshi is getting a second anime season. So the 24th and final episode of that anime announced that it's going to be coming out. This, produced by Studio Trigger, the anime series premiered in January 4th. Of course, it's on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet, but as you might imagine, it's about dungeon crawling and making food out of monsters, I think. So look out for this, because Dungeon Meshi, I assume, will also be on Netflix, is going to be coming out soon. And next up, a bizarre sort of news story. The Tokyo government is creating its own official dating app, slated to launch in the summer. It looks like the government of Japan is just desperate to have people get together and have kids. So it's a dating app designed and run by the Tokyo government. What could go wrong when you give all your personal info to the government? Tokyo is looking to provide seamless support from first meeting to marriage to even childbirth. So anyone who wants to get married and have a kid can do so before the entire population of Japan disappears. Japan's population is projected to drop from like 125 million, where it is right now, to literally under 90 million within the next like 25 years. They're on a pace to lose about 1 million people a year in their population. It's pretty wild. Anybody 18 years of age or older can work or can use the app, or if you go to school in Tokyo. So this is interesting and weird that Japan is just getting desperate. They're trying anything except not making people work so damn hard, so they actually have time to go out and meet people. It's not that hard. All right, this is Mitsuki. This was your anime news break, and now time to get back to the podcast. You've been waiting nearly 13 years, but the podcast has gone the distance. We have launched our podcast merchandise store, www.aashop.info. T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, stickers, and more, nearly at cost, because we want you to spread the word, not empty your pockets. So help spread the word that you're an anime addict and get yourself some Anime Addicts merch over at www.aashop.info. That's www.aashop.info.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
When I was growing up, I grew up in like West Virginia in the mountains, and we would spend most of our free time hiking and like finding dead deer skeletons and all this crazy shit that like kids do in the woods, right?
Wait, what about the anime cliche of a pile of porn?
Q Kazuo talking about like the porn mags and there's always a sofa in the woods somewhere, and there's always porn magazines under the cushion. It's such like they're like shamefully hiding in the woods, like rubbing one out on like a bench somewhere in the woods. This is Caroline's fault, Mason. I see you shaking your head no, but
Okay, I just said porn. I did not get graphic with
well,
it.
you know,
You know where Mitz's head is at. You knew he was gonna take this. He's so
very,
loopy. His inhibitions are at an all-time low.
porn magazines only have one use in this world, and it's not like reading material, okay?
This is a very adult episode.
I didn't say that you like, whip your stuff out and start like, going to town on it.
Well, now you are.
I did, but I censored myself, okay? It's the sound of my people. Speaking of my people, I'm going home, baby. Oh, wait, let me read the mailbag first. Or the answer. In the anime Bucchigiri, what instrument does the main character Adajin claim to play? I didn't even remember this at all. Bass guitar? Okay. If you say so.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got bass in his room. He says he plays the bass. He's got bass posters. Never plays the bass. We have no idea if he actually plays it or not. So
I'm going home, baby. If anybody lives in Tennessee, moving to Tennessee in the middle of August. Anybody wants to
officially?
Yep. I have
Congrats,
spent
my guy.
quite a lot of money on an apartment already, so the next chapter of life's adventure begins. So, if anybody lives in Tennessee and wants to show an old man the ropes, hit me up on the Discord. All right, and now it's time for more mailbags.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime. Anime. Anime.
Mailbag. If you want to leave a mailbag, it's aaapodcast.com/mailbag.
We should have done the mailbag song and dance for every single mailbag this episode.
But I don't do the dance, Mason.
I know, but just by the end, I'm just like sweating, like 20 mailbags. You're like, I still got a fight in it. No, we're good. But this is the official mailbag of the episode. So, Timothy Spoon, you should feel honored.
That's right. I seem to be winning the battle against my addiction to anime. Oh, that's so sad. And as I listen to the podcast, making the slogan worse. Oh, damn. I call upon y'all to help provide me with sleeper hits from the last decade to strengthen my addiction. Well, see, my thought was, why just the last decade? Shit. The last decade only gets you to 2014. So, how about the last 3 decades? How about that? Anyway, I didn't really know what to say, Mason. I just threw out some here. Ping pong. Thought you'd like that.
I do like it, but this is a tough question because a sleeper hit is sort of an oxymoron in a sense, you know? It's like a popular underground band. It's like, you know, I can't recommend really popular shows because then it's not a sleeper. But if, you know, it's too much of a sleeper, it's not a hit. So I just threw random shots up here. But I do like ping pong. That's a phenomenal show. What else you got?
Showa Genroku, Rakugo Shinju. People love that. It's not much of a sleeper, but I mean, Space Brothers, not much of a sleeper. Pluto, a little less seen. I don't feel like Pluto didn't get much love. I don't think. Dungeon Meshi, people, that's really new and very popular right now. So, but I don't know. I mean, of those, the ones that are the most sleeper, I don't know. Who the fuck cares if it's a sleeper? Why does that matter? If you haven't seen it and it's good, like why does it have to be a sleeper? What do you think?
I think he's going for shows that he probably hasn't seen or hasn't heard of, so that, you know, he hasn't already gone to the well. Like if I'm like, oh, have you tried Attack on Titan? It's like, yeah, I've seen Attack on Titan, of course. Like, give me something I haven't seen. I think that's what the intent was. But I have no idea what your preferences are. So here's 3 very random shows. We have Revue Starlight, which has a phenomenal movie to go with it. Link Click, which is a Chinese animated series, but still really cool. Season 2 is very wild, very hype, very different than Season 1, but still very good. And Girls Last Tour, if you like the more somber, reflective, post-apocalyptic snowscapes, that's a cool one as well. So maybe you haven't seen any of them, and they're all different. So hopefully one of them strikes your fancy and makes your anime addiction slightly worse. I don't know. What is it, my job to do this? Come on, man.
Jeez, come on.
You're not going to link a Mel. You're not going to link an Annie list. How am I supposed to know you? But anyway, thank you for the mailbag.
All right, well, this was your pick, Mason. Yeah, I'm ready.
For Bucchigiri, this is a winter 2024 show. I passed this on episode 713. You can watch it, you know, despite the complaints of Captain Avatar on Crunchyroll, and it is an original. Directed by Hiroko Itsumi, done by Studio Mappa, which we all know and maybe love. And the synopsis is Arjun Tomobishi, a young man, returns to his original hometown after half a decade away. He goes back to school, hoping to find some honeys, some lovely ladies to spend his time with. And instead, he finds a completely overrun school with different delinquent gangs. And when a supernatural spirit, whether it's like a genie, jinn, a honky it's a big beefy ghost man possesses his body, gives him some strength, and everyone but the girl he was crushing on was like, I want a piece of him to fight. And that's what the show's about. So, expectations going into the show, Mitsugi, what you had in your head when I said we're going to be doing a review of Bucchigiri?
Well, you guys said it was ass, basically. So, I mean, I didn't have very, very high expectations. I think Caroline was like, I'm fucking skipping this one.
Yeah, Caroline,
like, okay.
If you haven't heard, she's out today. And we asked her, okay, you're missing the review. What review do you not want to do? And she very proudly said Bucchigiri.
Yeah, I was like, well, so I don't know how else I'm supposed to feel at that point when the preface isn't real great. So I expected it to suck.
For myself, this is directed by Hiroko Utsumi, which I said, and her directing style, we'll get into it in the main thing, but that told me all I needed to know. I'm going to expect some highly exuberant characters that live in a lively, wacky world. They're going to get into silly situations. And back when I passed this, the first 2 episodes I thought were really solid. They had spectacular fight choreography, densely beautiful backgrounds. It had confidence. It had flair. It had this like retro vibe with just the set of things, how the designs were, how the characters kind of spoke. It just felt kind of classic in a sense. Sure, the characters were a little lackluster. The magical deities bit kind of a little gimmicky, but it had good production value, had that Middle Eastern flavoring, and it was kind of a lukewarm season. So I was like, you know what? This was pretty good so far. Past it, come to find out a couple weeks later that the Discord, like Mitsugi mentioned, was kind of grumbling that it was a bit of a flop. So I was like, okay, let's see how bad it tumbled from when I thought it was pretty good. And let's see how it actually turned out in our spoiler-free recommendation. Mitz, would you recommend Bucchigiri?
Look, I didn't hate this anime, but probably not. I just don't know who I would recommend it for. It has good things and bad things, in my opinion. But when you put them all together, I just don't know that the audience for this anime is very large, and I have no idea who I would actually suggest it to, because there's usually a better option for pretty much every aspect of this show. So, for example, the good and the bad, so first of all, I could be wrong, but this anime certainly seems to draw some influence from both JoJo and Fist of the North Star. So I don't know if that's been written anywhere, but you can't watch that opening and not think JoJo. So Miss Mason kills a fly in his room.
Yep, got him. There's like a little gnat in front of my face.
There with the Senya's manly pillar man poses and all this, and
the pillar man pose. There's a scene where Mataraka unleashes his stand, and it's straight up a shot for shot recap of a JoJo popping open a diamond, the blah blah star platinum whatever. It's very JoJo inspired.
The fucking Senya does he has the 100-hand punch move several times. There's literally a character called Kenichiro who looks exactly like Ken from Fist of the North Star. But, it plays more like a bromance version of Iki Tosen or Real About High School or one of these, school gang animes, because the whole show is about these gangs fighting, just beating the shit out of each other, essentially, for no reason, really. And there's a ton of anime like that, and I tend to like them. I did enjoy some of the fights. I like hand-to-hand combat the best. It's simple and entertaining to watch and easy to understand. I like watching UFC. I like Shadow Skill. I like some of the fight, hand-to-hand fights in other shows like Outlaw Star and some others. This show has some pretty good hand-to-hand fight scenes, like Iki Tosen does as well. Nothing beats grabbing someone and suplexing them into concrete. I mean, it's just so cool. I thought the animation was actually pretty decent. I mean, this is Mappa. It certainly didn't look like ass. I don't think it blew anybody's mind at any point, but the character designs were a little weird, but they were okay. I mean, some of the people look kind of bizarre, but I mean, whatever. And honestly, the opening and the ending were both good. I liked them both pretty well.
Yeah, they were bangers.
Especially the ending. I was all in on that fucking ending.
You like the little shuffle dance?
I hate that fucking bitch though, Mahoro. And so she's
We'll
in
get to that. We'll get to
she's in the
that.
bad column. God damn, what a insufferable fucking character. But ultimately, this anime just has a really shitty narrative. I didn't get much out of it. It's mostly idiotic. I hate when anime reference. I can't tell if they're if they're doing a parody or what, but because it certainly seems like it's parody. It might be parodying. Is that a word? Doing a parody of other shows, but the whole like, oh, again, I've said this before. When I was 5, I met this kid on a playground, and we promised to always be friends. And it's like 35 years later, they're still thinking about a promise they made when they were 5. Nobody does that, ever. It's just a dumb fucking premise to be carrying a whole anime's plot line. I promised you I'd be a Honki person when I was 5. And by the way, that doesn't even make sense. I looked up Honki person, and it just means like serious. That's the definition of Honki. It just means like it's made up of the kanjis of hon and ki. Genki no ki, which is like healthy, energetic, and hon meaning like truthful and real. So I don't know. The anime is just stupid. I don't think nothing about it. And the whole childhood promise thing is stupid. It will always be stupid. It's failed every time I've seen it, even when I wasn't jaded. Even back to when I was tricking my mom into buying Sakura Diaries for me at Sam Goody because I thought it was porn. And there's literally a fucking flashback in that where he promises his cousin when they're like 6 that they'd get married someday or something. So then they're still droning on and on about this, even though they're like getting ready to graduate from college. And I'm just like, give me a fucking break. Like, no one gives a shit about your promise. You're not gonna. I have like 2 memories from when I was 6. I mean, how the hell do they even remember this shit? I don't have any idea, but that's a long way for me to say. That's a long spoiler-free way for me to say I didn't hate it, but no, I would not recommend it. I don't know who I'd recommend it to. They'd probably think I was out of my fucking mind.
Yeah, I think if you like Skate the Infinity or Free or just any of Utsumi's previous offerings, I think this is a fun recommendation for those folks particularly. Like, it's got the homages to Ashino Joe. It has the same building design philosophy as JoJo, especially part 3. And I was wondering when I was watching it, like, what changed from the first couple episodes to the end that made everyone say, oh, the show flopped? And really, the answer is nothing. Like, a lot of the strong points, a lot of the flexes of the animation of just, oh, I want to see a show where boys that are colorful and kind of silly bounce around and beat each other to a pulp. Yeah, you're going to get that all the way through. Like, it's a solid show for what it does, and it does that well. The problem, like Mitsuki said, the writing is so disheveled and poorly realized that it undercuts all the goodwill that it otherwise earns. Like, the reason why person A fights person B, and then he betrays him and fights with person C, is arguably more important than the fights themselves. And the fights are kind of cool at times, but when the animation kind of drops in the second half, the show's ability to deliver a narrative that makes me care or engage with any of it is completely void. And you could argue that some of the themes and messages are more subtextual and hidden, but they're really lackluster. And like Mitt said, is this a parody? Is this a weird meta narrative? Is this, trying to play it, straight? Like, what is this show going for? I don't think it really knows. I think it's very much a show of just, let's make cool visuals with flashy, pretty boys fighting, and we'll figure out the plot later. And it feels that way. So I don't recommend this show wholesale. Try out an episode or 2 if, what we talk about sounds like a vibe for you and sounds fun, because it's not an abysmal show. It just really seemed to be lacking any clear directive of what it was trying to say or do. So I will not be recommending this either, though I can concede that, it's got some good points, and hearing everyone be like, oh, it's awful, it's terrible. It's not. I mean, it is, but it's not. So let's get to our spoilers, so be warned.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
So Utsumi's works all kind of feel very authentic. This show didn't feel like a copy-paste of every other anime we get nowadays. But they're or her shows all kind of fall into the same archetypes. Her shows feel like a hentai artist who knows exactly what body proportions they like, and
Yeah.
damn anyone else who doesn't like them. Like all her shows, you're gonna get, excuse me, a core friendship of two Bishonen boys surrounded by a crew of slightly less pretty boys who fight very stylish pretty boys, and they're kind of men. Lots of shots of muscles, particularly the sweet, beefy, good boyfriend who's just always there. There's always going to be like a few to one female characters who always have an older brother fetish. It happened all the other shows. And like I like the look and aesthetic of her offerings. It's just a blueprint that I'm kind of getting tired of. And this predictable blueprint pairs well with these predictable episodes where every episode Arjun is going to go after Maharo and be shut down, and then there's going to be a fight, and Arjun's going to be like, I don't care about fighting. And then the teacher is going to go see the cat, and then there's going to be more fighting. And then Senya's going to lick his lips and stare at Arjun's tramp stamp and be like, damn boy, I want to merge. Arjun's like, I don't want to merge. And Senya's like, but we could merge. And he's like, okay, we'll merge. And then they merge, and then they fight. And when they fight, it's really unengaging because it's like a punch, and then the fight's over, and all the other boys are like, damn, I want a piece of that boy. I want a piece of that punching boy. And then it just repeats ad nauseum. And that's really the whole show. And I get it. Like, there's definitely a stretch in my mind of like a whole meta narrative of Arjun is homosexual and this is like a repressed desire for this. And these people have their idea of maturity and he's not really prescribing to that. He wants to do his own
Is
thing,
that
but
for
he's
real?
still fight. Like, I think
Because that was
I could make
joking.
that case.
Because that was joking.
I think there's like some current of me that could read the tea leaves and extract some sort of message from the show. But really what it presents is just boys fight and sometimes they get possessed and then they keep on fighting. And it's all about being a good person. And you can beat the shit out of all your friends, all your enemies, just literally send them to the hospital. But as long as you claim you're fighting the darkness, it's okay, they'll forgive you. Like, it's very weak in a lot of ways. The characters are very one-dimensional across the board. It's just it's just poorly written when everything else looks and sounds pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like our spoilers kind of covered everything. The animation was dope. The OPs were dope.
Yep. Really
like,
dope.
I wanted to have fun. And just the writing just constantly was just like, but you promised you were going to be my friend forever. And Arjun's like, dude, I don't care. So I feel like we need to talk about the characters. Unless there's something else you want to jump on.
Well, have you seen like early? I don't know if have you seen Ikito-sen, like the early Ikito-sen?
I have not.
So it's like, look, it's been a long time, and that shows a lot of that shows about having girls' clothing explode off of them when they fight. But that show, a lot of it is just like, I'm the reincarnation of some fucking fighter from 5,000 years ago. But really, it's this school is attacking another school, and they just fight in the schoolyard and in the hallways, and beating each other up, or real bout high school where they literally have like sanctioned fights inside the school. Like, there's a lot of anime out there that are about schools fighting each other. Shit, it's even like a sub theme in some shows like Slam Dunk. They spent a whole like 5 episodes just beating the shit out of each other. Yu Yu Hakusho. I don't think Kuwabara and Yusuke went to the same school. They just decided they were going to fight each other because they were in different gangs. Like, Bebop, what was that other show? Bebop High School, was it?
Yeah,
it's the exact same fucking thing.
So
it's
good.
like Bebop High School is a great facsimile. They're like, oh hi, I'm part of this like school, and I'm a thug, and you're from a different school, and you're a thug too. Well, that means we have to fight, and for no reason. And that's what this anime is, with like multicolored hair, and lots of talk about merging, and at least they didn't call it docking.
They should have, though. That would have been funny.
Should have. But yeah, and as I Got Pwned says on the Twitch, it's a little derivative. But I don't know. It doesn't. Watching people beat each other up it doesn't get old very fast. For me, at least, I'm very happy to watch people beat each other up. I'm just happy no one like summoned like No one like flew around with like blood flying out of their ass. No one summoned a comet to fall out of the
when
sky.
Arjun had to just poop all the time.
But yeah, I mean it. God, Mahoro, I hate her ass. Fuck that girl.
So I feel like we need to talk about the characters, and we'll get to Mahoro.
Sure.
So I feel like a big sticking point for a lot of people is Arjun, who is the main character who is very disengaged from the whole gang thing. He doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to get involved. And on one hand, I like that concept. Like he is a peaceful observer. He doesn't want any part of this nonsense gang thing. And it feels weird to be like, oh, you should do gangs. Like it's not good for you, but like just do little fights. It'll be fun. Like I think people kind of get annoyed from him because he's so not engaged with the very story that the anime is trying to present as the main thing to do. And he's just like, no, I'm just going to crush on this girl who is obviously not into me. And that's a little cringe to watch. But I think people kind of turn on him when his friend of Matakara from so many years ago, wants to kind of renew that friendship. And he just is so singularly focused on getting turned down by this girl that he just rejects everyone and acts like a big jerk about it. And I think people don't like him for that reason. And that's okay. I think that's a unique concept in that, likely some traumatic event happened to him and that's kind of why he is pushing people away. And I get that and I like that for him. But his development of finally coming around to accepting Matakara's feelings and finally reconciling comes at the very last second of the anime. And it feels like they just had to shallowly resolve everything, and it feels like it didn't earn anything with such a delayed development. And this whole merging with this supernatural entity is really meh. Like that they could have completely bypassed that point with this whole like, oh, if I merge with you, it'll kill you, but we're gonna merge one last time. Like it felt very artificial in trying to make these stakes engaging when they were really just, if they didn't have any of the hunky people at all, I feel like the story would have been better for it. Like it was just kind of a weird gimmick to push Arjun into an excuse that made him strong when he really wasn't, and then people thought he was, and it just was like a weird mix-up of things. But yeah, the girl he was crushing on, Mahoro, who just is a token sister character who loves her older brother, like that was just a doomed relationship that you weren't cheering for anyway. So like that wasn't compelling. And yeah, what didn't you like about her? Lay it on us.
Well, she's just a bitch. I mean, well, it doesn't help. Adagene's so, well, it's pretty weird to have be obsessed with your brother for starters. But she's just nasty. She's just not a friendly person. And she's in the show a lot. She's in the show a lot.
I like the sense of like that she's this only female character and she comes off so cutesy. And then she's like so annoyingly brash against the people that come up to her. Like it's good to see that she's not just a typical, like if she was just a moe girl who just loved everyone, was all cutesy and ignorant, like that would have not played as well. So I like her kind of two-faced nature, but that's all she had going for her. Just a creepy obsession with her brother.
Yeah,
just like screeching at people.
And she added nothing to the plot line at all.
No, she was just a MacGuffin, which is why I didn't like the ending, because it implied that all the guys were after her. When in the show, it really didn't appear that way. It was just like Arjun and maybe one other dude. I think everyone else realized, oh, she's not into me. She's into her brother. I'm staying away. So like the Edie kind of betrayed, I think, the intentions that people had for her. But yeah, I mean, she just wasn't very likable, and she didn't add anything.
Mahoro is the reason why dudes don't go up to girls in public anymore and ask them out.
Because they'll get screeched at
Too
like a
afraid
bat.
to be getting screamed at and yelled at and put on fucking TikTok.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of the female characters are written in these Utsumi shows. They're just kind of there to be a sort of token love target. I don't know. It just feels odd.
Adagene's not any better. I don't really... First of all, I don't know what a Honki person is. Like, is it just Senya and Ichiya that were Honki people, as they say, because in the dub? Because, God, the dub is so dumb with that. They don't, like, God damn it. Why don't you just fucking translate what Honki means to you? Like, you could just say, oh, Arajin, I thought you wanted to be a strong man.
I think
No.
it's just that culture, that quote unquote Middle Eastern thing, which I'm not even a huge like. I like the idea of it. I don't know how well it was implemented, but I
Well,
think
but
it was
did you
just
watch the dub?
No, I didn't watch the dub, but
Well,
they
he
said
literally goes-
honky in the sub.
He goes, I thought we made a promise to be Honki people. That's literally what they say. Like, no one knows what Honki means. You didn't translate it. You should. And I don't know who is fucking Honki. Like,
I think it's just
Marito was strong.
in-universe.
I
I think it's just a term for someone who is, a capable fighter who has earned the respect of their peers. Who is, I don't know. I think it's
I don't know what it means.
a made-up thing.
Yeah, I looked it up and it didn't find it. So I don't know.
I think it's like Dragon Ball calling their people Super Saiyan. You're like, well, what's Super Saiyan mean? It's like it's just the in-universe term for achieving a certain power level. I think that's my interpretation.
But they explain what a Saiyan is pretty clearly.
Yeah.
And ad nauseum. But they never explain. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But Addicts, he doesn't. I honestly don't know. Like, I don't even think it's weird. But Addicts, is he a MacGuffin? Because it's like his wish with Senya was to lose his virginity, which is super dumb, and pretty much undermine.
Which was funny once, and then they like turned it into the recurring.
Oh, you think it's funny?
Reigniting the. I thought it was funny the first time they did it,
but it's so overdone. Like they've been doing that.
But then they overdid it. Yeah.
But they've been doing the old like that themes clear back since Poir wanted fucking Bulma's panties from the dragon.
Yeah, and it's
I mean,
part
give
of
me
the
a fucking
retro aesthetic of the show.
But it's like Addicts never wanted to be Honki. He barely cares about any of this. And so I'm trying
why should I care?
Well, why is he even in the fucking anime? Just give the Majin to Matakata and let him do his thing. Why does Addicts have to run around for 9 episodes? And whatever, Oolong. Sorry, I said Poir. Hang me, Good Lord. Bamboo shoots under the fingernails. Yes, thank you. So, Addicts, I don't even know if he really serves much of a purpose in this whole anime. Like, it literally could have been a show where Matakata is hanging out with Zabu and the other fucking yellow-haired guy, whatever his name was, and gets the Majin and starts going AWOL or starts going crazy and starts beating everybody up. But instead, like, Addicts kind of, like, reluctantly engages in all these fights. But I don't really know why he... I don't know, man. I don't know what purpose he served, really. I don't get it.
I mean, pretty much all the characters here are very lukewarm. I mean, even Matakara, his whole arc revolves around this unmet brother of his and this mysterious dark force of loneliness, inadequacy. Like, it's a very... Honestly, the character that I was, like, the most, like, sold on as a really compelling person was Shindo, the head of the NG boys, who had the, like, long, like, straight hair hanging down. Yeah, the Emperor, because he was like, oh, I tried to get in the gang, I wasn't strong enough, they kind of shunned me, I worked really hard, I tried to work out, I, regained thing, but they still, like, he had, like, a story of, like, why he was against the gangs, and this whole plot to divide them, and, like, have them self-mutilate against one another. Like, at least that made sense. Everyone else was just like, yeah, just like fighting.
Shindo is whatever, what was the main villain from Skate?
Adam?
He's Adam. He's like this big, he's so strong and tough. But he's like, really, he just wants to like bend you over his knee and spank you. Like, that's pretty much what he was. Like, he literally fights with a fucking whip.
Yeah.
And, does Adam have a whip? I seem to recall something.
Probably. There's a lot of whipping going on.
But, it's just, he's basically Adam. And even down to the point of being, like, overthrown and overly comical about it. So, I'm trying to think who, like, my favorite character was, and it was some of the side characters, I guess, like, Marito was kind of cool. He had a lot, he had good fight scenes. Zabu.
And his personality was just, really like fighting. I'm here to fight the strong dude. And at least it's simple, but I can follow it. The one thing, the arc that I thought was really odd, then I got really into, and then I got really disappointed by, was the Jasmine sub-arc of their teacher, who once an episode, for like 30 seconds to a minute, goes to this like scantily burlesque club and makes a request of the host to go see Jasmine Chan. And he's
Oh
like
yeah.
shamed at the beginning, and then there's like this whole little like arc of him maybe trying out a different girl and returning to realize, oh no, Jasmine's the one for me. She's the one I love. Blah blah blah. And like that was more compelling. But the problem is, very early on, as a viewer, at least for me, you realize, oh, he's just at a cat cafe. He just wants to go pet the cat named Jasmine. Like he just likes that cat. And then the
I thought
last
that was
like
funny.
yeah, I thought that was awesome. But once you figure that out, the last 4 or 5 episodes kind of don't lend anything more to it. So at the big reveal, episode 12 is he emerges from this place. Surprise, spoilers, Jasmine's a cat. And you're like, well, I already knew that. So like that's the big reveals, what we knew for the past couple episodes. So it kind of had an unsatisfying ending. But even that was like a cute little side story that could have once again compelled the arc of Arjun to be like, accepting his feelings of blah 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 blah. We don't need to get into it, but there was something here. There was foundations. But they just didn't build on any of them.
Yeah,
and
but
just got
you
distracted.
you might have said it, and I was slightly distracted just now. I heard what you said, but what the fuck was the point?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm not missing it. There's no point.
No,
Got
like
it.
there was not. The best I can
It's
give it credit
ridiculous.
for is it kind of mirrored what some of the storyline of Arjun was going through,
What the
but it
fuck?
was very poorly handled. Like
So silly.
it wasn't very clear. Just weak motivations, very rushed story that just didn't come out well. Yeah, the whole fight at the end of just the supernatural people that we don't really care about, we weren't invested in them, is lackluster. Just I don't know.
Nothing
As
was
much
fleshed
as,
out well.
No,
Nothing was
it wasn't.
explained or detailed, or Senya and Ichiya, like their backstory, like I don't know. They fought things and were rivals, I guess, and like I don't know, ancient Arabia or some shit.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but now they've transcended into honkies. To me, they were the honky, and they've transcended into like this mythical form as strong people or whatever. And they're all trying to get there for some reason. Although being fucking trapped in a temple as a Majin sounds like a shitty way to go, but
yeah.
I didn't hate this anime, honestly. Like
No, it was with all the people in the Discord saying, "Oh, it's so bad, it's so awful."
yeah, exactly.
Coming in, I was like, "Let's see it." And you know what? It was stupidly fun in a lot of ways, and just depressingly dropped the ball in a lot of others. Here's your token Mason nitpick of the show. And the animation looked really good for the most part. There was a lot of static shots in the second half. I still love the 90s era design and backgrounds. I think it looked good for the most part. There's a few directing moments that didn't work well, but we don't need to get into that. But one thing that stood out was Shindo. On the bottom of his boots, they are engraved with NG for the No Good Boys that he's the leader of. And he steps on the face of someone, and it like leaves an imprint on his face of NG, because that's where his boot stepped on him. But if you look, the direction of the NG on his boot doesn't match the direction of NG on the dude's face. So canceled. This anime sucks. No, it's fine. It's a good time. It's silly. It's goofy. If you like Skate, I think there's a lot to like here. But I think it needed a better dialogue and writing. I don't know. I'm ready to score it though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say. I wish Adajin would have left that girl alone, though. We had so many scenes of him getting rejected. It got pretty ridiculous after a while. It's like, bro, after the first time, it's over. Like, after the first time and she rejects you and you come back, you just look desperate. And no girl wants that. So you have an even more reduced chance of landing the girl if you grovel at her fucking feet. So that's just not how things work. It's like you shot your shot. Appreciate that you did that. She didn't like it. Move on. So you don't need to keep basically harassing
I'm gonna make
her.
her a stamp of our names together on a stone, because that's worked every time in the past, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead. Do you want me to score it first? Do you want to do it? Whatever.
I'm just gonna give it 2 spicy kebabs out of 5. I think it wasn't as bad as everyone said, while also being as bad as everyone said. It's fun. It looks good. I can give it some credit, but for the most part, I'm being generous with it. So 2 out of 5.
I really like these anime that are fighting, like where the thugs fight and all this, and Bebop High School. I've only seen one episode of that so far.
Dude, it gets so good.
Well, the first episode was fine. Like, I didn't dislike the first episode. It was pretty enjoyable. It started off slow and then got pretty good at the end when they started beating each other up. But, I love all these beat-up shows. That's why I love, Shonen Junai Gumi and GTO and all these. And so, but this anime is a little, I don't know. I got to stick to my guns. I can't give an anime with a bad narrative a good score. And the narrative is the most important thing. You need to have a story when you're watching a story. So, I guess I'm going to give it 2.5, like, hand/footprints that I left awkwardly in your face or your side or whatever. Like, that looks really painful. So, better score than I thought, honestly. Like, the way everyone talked about this, I thought it was going to be the worst show ever. But it really wasn't too bad. So, it went quickly, I'll say that.
Yeah, it was an easy watch. And that'll do it. That was episode 733 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Next week, we have Dungeon Meshi. So, better start watching that. As
Fuck
always,
me.
please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all the good stuff. Most importantly, Discord is where we hang out, talk to you guys, have a good time, and our website where you leave the mailbags, the reviews, all the good stuff that makes us love you. Hopefully your anime addiction is getting worse. If not, we'll
Not
just try
that one
again next
person.
week.
He was
We're
like
getting
you're
there.
he was like you're a failure, basically. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go
We'll
cry myself
get
to sleep now.
Tell a friend, share the love. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye.
Toodles.